Oh, hi there. Uh, my video is going to be about how we still live in an age where people are the Stasi. Uh, every fifth person is probably going to rat on you for having contradictory beliefs to a political system or, ideology towards life or whatever. If they don't agree with you, they're going to snitch on you. And a lot of people are like that, and they do it in a snivelly, cowardly way. They phone an anonymous line, and you never know that they ratted on you, but they did. And you get enough people complaining and bitching about things that you may have said, um, that there isn't anything wrong with. It just contradicts the flow of mainstream society. People think, oh, use the word Stasi, that's ancient history. In a way, it is. I mean, the Gestapo isn't going to show up and throw you in a gulag, but they'll get you in other ways. Um, People are still very discriminatory. The new Stasi are people who um, attack basically young white men like myself. We're not allowed to be proud of being white. Um, if we are, we're deemed as racist, and therefore we're excluded, we're ostracized. And it is an unfair way to go about doing things, and it's also grossly hypocritical because not only are all the other races filled with people who discriminate, who are prejudiced, who don't like other people based on their skin, in particular whites, because we've been the most successful. Um, Not only that, but there's also the whites who are self-hating, and they think they're somehow better because they demonize white men, demonize their own race. Somehow they think their discrimination is justified and what they're doing is right. Uh, because I know for a fact they don't put on the same face that they have when they're talking to a white person as they do when they're talking to a brown person. Um, there are political elements to this that are behind the scenes, but racism from East Indians, for example, is acceptable in a lot of legal cases in Canadian government um, for reasons we don't really understand. You may go, well, there's a fair amount of East Indians in jail, blah blah blah, but it's different rules for different fools, and sometimes people get treated especially bad. Um, the natives up in the reserves up north, they got things pretty hard, and I wouldn't blame them for being unsympathetic to white man blues, but that is personally not something I've done. It's not anyone I know who have done that. It's an entity that is openly racist, openly discriminatory, and it's comprised of many different ethnic groups within Canada. Um, Maybe it is a white guy at the top, but just because it's a white guy on the top doesn't mean he's going to treat the white guys on the bottom very good. That's been known throughout history that the king usually treats his subjects like crap. Shouldn't be that way, but it is. Um, the Yeah, this Stasi I was talking about, modern day Stasi, um, you don't need uh, them to be there. Um, they have no reason to just get easily offended by anything and immediately demonize you and expect you to be punished. Because I think if someone goes around wheeling dealing punishment and has no qualifications or authority to do so, wants to be judge, jury, uh, then maybe they're the one with some sort of psychological condition where they've got this issue where they constantly feel the need to attack somebody else. It's not attacking in the same way. It's just it's more of an undercurrent. It's an underhanded thing to do. And a lot of Canadians are very prolific at doing that. It's every bit as vicious, and sometimes it's even worse. Uh, like my example, my situation is people didn't like me because I put up stuff on my Facebook. They didn't like my Nazi Germany um, music I put up there. You know, most of it was just beer songs anyway. It was just pleasant to listen to, that's all. Um, they didn't like my clips from Ninja Mutant Turtles. They didn't like my Transformer clips. There's a lot of things about my Facebook they didn't like, and they judged me because of it. Now, I'm not one of these little internet gnomes who hides behind a keyboard and goes, "Oh, I'll just listen to my music in private. I'll watch my stuff in private so people don't judge me on what I'm watching." Um, I'm not like that. I'm not one of these people who goes into the world and wants to remain a mystery, wants to be anonymous, wants to be blend in with the crowd and disappear. I can understand that being an advantage in certain situations because anyone unique is attacked by those very people who want to remain anonymous, who want to be shadows on the wall. Um, those type of people are the people that are the problem. Um, yes, being flamboyant can be annoying. Um, and unfortunately, being outspoken and well, flamboyant and anything associated with that is associated with the LGBT movement, with the way the media has constructed things. You can't be outspoken and have an opinion without them saying, "Well, maybe he's maybe he's a fag or something." Um, it's just the way the media has been constructed. And all the inspirational, outspoken people or characters on the television, um, not all of them, but a lot of them, have kind of that leaning. Like, I take a lot of inspiration from Eric Cartman from South Park, but he's done some things that I really like. I do not like. I try to ignore those episodes and pretend they don't exist. Because there are other people who are influenced by Eric Cartman types as well, and they may have behaved differently than I would have. Cartman has had many good moments, and he's had a few bad ones. Let's try and forget about that. Particularly when, what was it? He was, I forget now because I haven't watched that episode in so long. I think I watched it once, like 10 years ago, and that was it. Anyway, these people who manipulate media, manipulate the social conditioning around um, a certain area, where if you have certain ideological tendencies, they associate you with everything else. And that is not democracy. That's authoritarianism. That's saying if you like Eric Cartman, therefore you like the whole thing, and therefore you're this, that, and the other. We can judge you just based on that because we have an extensive knowledge on that particular subject, which gets back to Nazi Germany and me liking the music, which was mostly beer songs that the Nazis actually took from previous years. Because a lot of those songs that I listen to of German music were actually predated before Nazi Germany. But a lot of people don't see it that way. A lot of people got very narrow-minded views on things. And the thing is, you have to, uh, in a metaphorical sense, develop a way to be able to see people for exactly what they are. And I may have just come up with a way to do that. What do you think? I got these glasses at a place, and I actually can't see squat out of them. But as for to make a point, there are people out there that they're really quite ugly under the skin. It doesn't matter what their physical appearance looks like. Um, they are part of the establishment, and they're part of everything wrong with society, and they're not intelligent, and they're very ugly people. And with glasses like this, you can see them for what they are. And these kind of people shut down conversation immediately. Um, they're what I call obsessive compulsive. Not sure that's the right word, but basically, they don't say anything, they don't give any answers, they won't talk. You can't make them talk. They won't change their minds, and they stab you in the back when you're not looking. Uh, they wait for you to turn your back on them, thinking the conversation's over. When no, they're gonna be little bitches about it and come at you when you're not expecting it, and in ways you're not gonna know. And somehow they think that makes them smarter. It's a Jewish tactic. And when I say Jewish, I don't mean you have to ethnically be Jewish. I'm just saying that's more of an evolutionary ideological aspect of Jewish culture, is that you don't confront people when you've got an issue. You don't have a conversation with them. You just undermine them when they're not looking. You stab them in the back, and you make things harder for them, and you push them down so hard that they can never contradict your ideology. And there are people out there that want the white man to remain dormant. They want us to kind of just ease on off from center stage, and like, we don't have to hog the culture scene, um, forever. But the thing is, there are people out there who not only want us to, go on the back burner for a little bit, which would be kind of reasonable, but uh, they don't ever want us to be on center stage again. They want us at the bottom of the total pole, and they want to keep us there. And those people cannot be trusted. And the people who are in the upper parts of the upper echelons of society, we're not at a point where we can trust them yet. It's going to be a few generations down the road before we can actually trust these specific ethnic groups to have, a genuine interest in doing no harm to others. We're not at that point yet. Um, what they want to do is, under the guise of equalism and the ability to choose whatever, it's really, just a mask to disguise what they really want to do. And a lot of people fall for it. I feel bad for those pickle mushheads who watch the television, watch the internet, and are told what to think. They go, no, no, man, I've gone to this Facebook forum where people are speaking out against the government, and that makes me a radical thinker, and I'm intelligent because of it. They don't exactly have to say in plain English that they're telling you what to think, but if they pitch the propaganda in the right way and you go about thinking what they want you to think, then it basically is like they told you what to think. Um, People do have more say in the political atmosphere than they know. Basically, the government, what it likes to do is it's not entirely different from Roman times, where the Colosseum was there, and they'd watch up from the higher echelons of the Colosseum as gladiators, barbarians, whomevers fought each other, and they would see as a competition who's smarter, stronger, faster, who's better at things, who's better looking, who's this, that, and the other, who can come up with things like a cult of personality based on what limited information they have and how quickly they can do it. They look at these things, they people watch, and they're cretins in themselves. I mean, they have various mechanisms that keep them in control, and various mechanisms and rules and regulations that keep them anonymous so that they can keep their position in society. But at the end of the day, there's still, they still do not nice things to people. And it might be for sick, twisted reasons. And as I said, they're obsessive compulsive. You can't get an answer out of them. They're not going to do anything. They're not even going to acknowledge you. And there will be people within that circle who may agree with you, but there are also people in that circle that will not agree with you. And those people who do not agree with you are going to push you down or try to, as best they can, as hard to the ground as possible, because you're contradicting their world beliefs. It's, you can learn more about this sort of stuff if you go into certain sections of the government to go to school for, and if depending on what your job obligation is. I'm a produce clerk. I'm not taught about any of this stuff. I'm a free thinker. I don't need it to be written down as a link or source on the internet for me to use my own brain power and do research. Not studying, research. A lot of people don't look at it that way, though. They go, no, you're a lazy slob and you like to drink beer. Which isn't that inaccurate, but I ain't like the others. I ain't just going to believe the narrative, the obsessive compulsive has to be sort of way that all media outlets have. And it's basically just a monotone diatribe saying this is how it is, this is how it is, this is how it is. And the they live mentality of these people just hammering home down a simplistic, colorless image is very real. And anyone who has to mask what they think about the world and what they think is right and wrong is a sniveling coward and a slimy Jew boy. I don't care if you're black, Asian, white, actually ethnically Jewish, whatever. You're a Jew, in my opinion. That's just the word I use to describe people that behave in that manner and think that their ideology, their perspective of life is better than someone like mine. So anyway, the reason earlier when I mentioned the LGBT movement is because the people that don't like me will also try to discredit me, and they'll try to rope me in with that particular group, which I do not associate with at all. I don't agree with what they have to say. I don't agree with their worldview. I can be quite vibrant in my appearance, but I don't think or behave anything like them. And that's not going to stop those people from going, yes, you do. And we're going to keep saying that you do, whether you like it or not. They can think what they want. I'm going to do what I think is best for me. And I think there's nothing wrong with wearing a Dio shirt. I think there's nothing wrong with wearing hockey jerseys. Um, and I'm not some weirdo who's I don't even like thinking about it. Like, as far as I'm concerned, it's not really anything to do with me, and it's not like I see it a lot anyway. But it is always on the television and things like that, and it's a constant whiny attitude. Um, yeah. Anyway, I actually have to go to work soon, so I could keep talking, but I'll save it for another time, I suppose. Um, yeah, I'm just saying you don't have to be an anonymous shadow on the wall. You don't have to be afraid to voice your opinions on something if you actually have, a decent opinion on things. If you're not, an abominable human being. And it doesn't have to be going with mainstream society for you to be able to say it. This is Canada, and although you will have haters, uh, don't be afraid to say, no, I don't agree with you. No, um, that's not the way the world should be. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.